Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the latest edition of the Fargo Force Show. I'm your host, Trevor Peterson, joined this week by Jarod Hilderman, Force defenseman, Canadian guy, one of the few on the Force, or at least few that we've talked to thus far on the Fargo Force Show. Born in Calgary, but you grew up in Kamsack, Saskatchewan, correct?
Yep.
What was growing up in Canada and in Saskatchewan like?
I think it was pretty good to help out my hockey career. There's just a little town rink there, not a lot of stuff going on. So just whenever I had some free time, whenever I wanted to, basically I could just go down there with my dad. He'd always take me down there, get 5 or 6 hours on the ice, just do whatever I wanted. It was really good.
How big is Kamsack?
2,000 people.
Okay, so really small.
Yeah, really small.
First year with the Force for Jarod. Last 2 seasons, though, you played in the BCHL, the British Columbia Hockey League, where you actually won a title last year with Penticton, the Penticton Vs. Compare the BCHL with the USHL from what you've seen so far.
I think just every game you play in this league is a battle. Doesn't matter whether it's 6-1 or a 1-goal game. Every shift you go out there, you're coming off the ice and you're dead tired. So no nights off in this league, and I think that's one of the biggest differences.
How about the caliber of athlete? Are they bigger? Are they faster, do you notice, or kind of comparable in that way?
Yeah, kind of comparable. I think the BC is more of a puck possession game there, and the USHL, I think, more of a bump and grind, just kind of get down low. Way more defense in this league, I think.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the team you played with the last couple of years, Penticton, the Vs, Vees.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. I had to ask you, what is a V, or where did that nickname come from Penticton?
The Penticton is in most southern city in the Okanagan Valley there. Pretty nice spot there in BC. But there's 3 distinct pitches that grow there in that valley, and they all start with V. I couldn't name them for you, but I think that's just where it come from.
So thus the Vs. That's interesting. All right. Well, 2 goals and 6 assists so far for you this year, Jarod. Thoughts on being with the Force so far? Kind of what you expected? Has it been kind of an adjustment being in this part of the country and in a new league this year, or have you adapted pretty well, do you think?
Well, last year, I think towards the end of the season, I wasn't getting a whole lot of ice time, and Byron called me up, gave me this opportunity. I've been getting more of an increased role from last year, and I think the first few games was tough, just kind of getting used to the speed of the league, the ice time I was getting. But I think I've been settling nice here. As he's mentioned, I got those 2 goals, and hopefully that keeps on going for me.
All right. Well, you actually have some ties to the area, too, which is kind of interesting. Tell me about that.
My dad actually played football and rugby at the University of North Dakota, where he went on to play rugby overseas. Can't really remember where. And my uncle played for Concordia here, hockey for 4 years.
Rugby? Did you ever think about getting into rugby, or did you do that growing up?
I had the opportunity to when I was in grade 9 and 10, but I just decided to focus on hockey. Does
rugby at all help you in hockey in any way at all?
Maybe just toughness, but other than that, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. Now, you had something happen to you that probably none of your teammates can say, and very few people probably worldwide can ever claim. You were in a tornado, and you actually lived to tell about it. Tell me that story.
I don't really know a whole lot about it, but from what my dad tells me, we were just in our little campground there in Pine Lake, Alberta. We were at a store.
How old were you?
I was 3 years old. My brother was 1, and then who else was with us? My dad and my grandpa. And we were just leaving the candy store that me and my brother were begging to go to. My dad wanted to wait till after the storm, actually, but this comes up later in the story. My dad said we drove out, and he thought it was a dust tornado, and drove right into it. Said it threw us into a tree, spun us around, and then dropped us back down as it passed. It was kind of just as it was forming, I guess. So we couldn't just go right out of the campground to get out of there. We had to go all the way around. And we ended up, my dad was moving trees off the road, we saved these people off a burning trailer that got hit. Yeah. No one believes me until I call my dad. But we dropped them off at the store and then went back to Calgary. It was about an hour drive, and we got back, and my grandma and my mom were crying. They heard about it, but yeah, we lived to tell the tale.
Nobody worse for wear either. Everybody made it through okay.
Everybody made it through. Just the van was a little bit dented up, but that's about it. But it was actually I think top 5 most deadliest tornadoes in Canadian history, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you lived to tell about that.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Wow. Great story. Well, over the last 2 weeks, the Force have had 5 games, and amazingly, all 5 games have been decided by just 1 goal. So let's get started. Let's look at how those went. Thursday, December 3rd at Sioux Falls was the first one. The Force 1-1 versus Coach Eads' former team on the season. Each goalie started strong early on. Fargo's Hank Crone, the great pass leads to the shot, but it was stopped, and then Ryan Wishaw with the challenge. He is up to the challenge as well, and net 23 saves for the Force. 1-0 Sioux Falls had the lead late in period 2 when Fargo ties it. Crone scoops the backhand in and up over the goalie. Game was tied at 1 heading to the third. It stayed that way until 3 minutes left. The Force on the power play. Hank Crone to Blake Lazat to Jack Adams, 2-1 Force. But the Stampede sent it to overtime with a goal with just 25 seconds left. Nobody then scored in overtime, so it went to a shootout. Wishaw stopped Sioux Falls' first 2 attempts. Then on Fargo's second attempt, Hank Crone puts the Force up 1-0 with a beauty there. The Stampede tied it on their next chance, so the Force with a chance to win it on their third shot, and Zach Jan sends them home happy. 3-2 shootout win for the Force. The first shootout of the season for the Force and their first victory. The Force blistered the net all game, outshooting Sioux Falls 45-25. Jarod, how impressive was that win? How much fun? I mean, you guys blistered the net all game and then to come out with a shootout. I imagine that was a pretty rewarding one, especially against Coach Eads' former team and the always tough Stampede.
Yeah, for sure. I think lately we've been getting a lot of shots on net, but not getting a whole lot of productivity in return, and it feels nice. Although we only got that one regular that one goal in the 60 minutes, it was nice to get that win. Because we were usually losing those games. So
how often do you guys practice shootouts?
Every day before a game. Day before a game, okay. We do a little showdown. Winner gets bragging rights, I guess.
Well, that'll be big, because as we take a look at the next weekend, then the Force 2 days later, they traveled to Madison, the last place team in the USHL's Eastern Conference. On Saturday, December 5th, the Force come out with a 4-3 shootout win. Zach Jan with the game winner, the only one to score in the shootout. Lazat, Jan, and Gallant also with goals there. You guys outshot them 45-16 again there. And then the next night, Sunday afternoon, December 6th, another shootout win for the Force. 3-2, that one goes over Madison. Again, just one guy scored. This time it was Dennis Smirnov. Goals by Adams and Musser there, and Robbie Badoon in goal there for the Force to get the win there. Your third straight shootout win. That's kind of an odd thing, but pretty impressive. Are you guys? Did you guys have any idea that you were so adept at shootouts, Jarod?
Well, we work on them a lot. I know Robbie gets some guys out there in the mornings, and we do a lot of shootout stuff. And like I said, day before a game, we do a lot of stuff like that. But I don't know. We got some skilled guys up front there, like Dennis, Crone, Jan. They're pretty good at that. So I think if we can get it that far, we'll be able to win those games.
All right. So then the next weekend, the Force traveled to the Waterloo Blackhawks. And the same theme a little bit, 1-goal games. This time, unfortunately, though, the Force came out on the lose again. 4-3 on December 11th. They lose there. Shots on goal were even at 31. You guys couldn't come up with anything on the power play. Not many penalties in that game, though. And then on Saturday, another game going to overtime, and this time Waterloo comes out on top 3-2. Smirnov, you got your second goal of the game. First game, you actually scored your first 2 games in that one on Friday and then Saturday. And the Force 2 of 5 on the power play on Saturday, but still couldn't come up with a victory. Disappointing weekend team-wise, but how nice was it for you to get your couple of first goals, kind of get off the schneid there?
Yeah, I feel like I was getting a lot of good looks in net. First 20 games of the season there, I just couldn't pull a trigger. I was missing high, just hitting the goalie. But to get those first 2 are huge. I think I'm seeing the net a bit more now, and hopefully that keeps on rolling in these next 2 games before Christmas.
Have you always considered yourself kind of an offensive defenseman?
I have considered myself. I have not really put up the numbers to have myself considered something like that. But hopefully, like I said, I keep on doing that.
All right, let's take a look at the close calls for the Force. As we said, 5 consecutive 1-goal games this season for the Force. It's happened 12 times out of 23 total games. So more than half the time you guys have been in 1-goal games. You've come up with 6 wins, 4 losses, 3 shootout wins, all in the last couple of weeks, and 2 overtime losses. Are you guys getting more comfortable with this, Jarod, or is it just one of those things where maybe you don't have the high-powered offense, so you're going to be in some close games, and kind of you guys almost expect it now after looking at that graphic?
Yeah, I think that's just kind of the style of game we're playing right now. We're just dumping it down low, grinding teams, and we just got to stick to the process there, and hopefully that it wears teams down, and we can end up winning those games. And I just hope that we start winning more of those games and hope that it doesn't come back to bite us at the end of the year.
All right, so after the last 2 weeks, the Force went 3-1-1. So let's take a look at the updated Western Conference standings. The Force moving up one spot there. Lincoln, Sioux Falls, and Omaha all with points in the 30s. But look at that bunch right after that. Waterloo, Tri-City, Sioux City, and the Force all within 2 points there. You guys sitting at 22 points, so very bunched up here. It's kind of been that way all year, but if you guys can put together a little run, it should definitely change things. Thoughts on just being there and having a good week, 3-1-1 over the last couple weeks?
Yeah, that was huge considering the start we had. We kind of had to dig ourselves out of a hole there, and the last 2 games we lost were not 2 huge games too, but that just increases the importance on these 2 weekend games coming up before Christmas. We win those, and we're right up above all those teams there in a playoff spot, so that'd be really nice.
All right, so as the holidays approach, let's take a look at that upcoming schedule for the Force. Friday, December 18th, begins the stretch of 5 straight home games for the Force, the longest homestand of the year. You welcome Sioux Falls on the 18th. You're 2-1 against the Stampede this season. Then December 19th, you host Sioux City, 0-2 against Sioux City this year. Then they're back again at Shields Arena on December 27th for a 5:05 start there. And then on New Year's Eve, December 31st, you guys host Des Moines, 2-0 against Des Moines this year as well. So all games in your division, that should be very important, and you've had some success with some of those teams as well.
Yeah, big test for us to see what kind of team we are, what kind of playoff team we look to be. Those big games against Sioux City there, like you said, we're 0-2, but I think we put 2 good efforts against them, and I think we deserved a little bit better in those games. So it's kind of a chance for redemption there. I think we can get 4 points against those guys. And like you said, 2-0 against Des Moines. So it's a big stretch coming up these next 5 games.
All right, and if anything, if the past shows any prediction in the future, they'll all, or probably most of them, will be close games as well. Maybe 1-goal games will continue that trend. Jarod, thanks for being here. Great job, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Fargo Force Show.